Hey, thanks for joining me today. Today is a day I'm going to talk about dieting, organic dieting, vegetarian dieting, fat loss dieting. The word diet, what does that even mean nowadays, except big dollar signs for the weight loss industry. A few years back, they did a study and they called it a 60 billion dollar industry, and I'm sure it's more like 100 billion. Sorry, I'm getting tongue twisted because that amount is so much. $100 billion. Imagine that. That's what's $1 billion? That's $999 million plus another million is a billion, and there's 100 of those, or at least 60 billion of those on record. But the reality is, they can't track everybody, and that's just in the United States alone. So we should all be skinny and thin and fit and lean and mean, but the reality is most of you are just mean. I'm just kidding. Most of the time I'm just mean when I'm trying to be lean because I can't have the things I want, the things I crave, like carbohydrates. So there's some myths about organic. Organic is great. It just means it wasn't chemically treated with pesticides typically, or the soil didn't have chemicals in it and things like that to make it grow more. We hear a lot about genetically modified crops and animals now. What that means basically is food science is genetically modifying things to grow bigger, larger, stronger, sweeter, heavier, those kind of things. And at the end of the day, it's because of two things. We like really, really sweet in our culture, but really it's money. If I could genetically modify corn, that way it's already built into its DNA to not be harmed by Roundup, then I could spray a ton of Roundup on my corn and I have beautiful crop that the bugs don't get. Whereas before, corn says, hey, wait a minute, this Roundup stuff's nasty. This is a patented chemical. Yeah, it's killing bugs, but it's also hurting me. So anyhow, they're genetically modifying food to withstand more stress. Unfortunately, it's causing our body more stress. I'm not going to get into how much. Maybe it's a little, maybe it's a lot, but it is causing problems in our body. I will guarantee that. So organic is great, but it doesn't always mean healthy, right? Organic sugar is still sugar. Organic alcohol is still organic alcohol. So organic is better than inorganic almost 99% of the time, but it doesn't mean it's healthy. Being a vegetarian doesn't mean you're healthy either. There's a lot of studies that will say, oh, animal proteins or animal products will cause heart disease. That's not always the case. Most of those studies were done without control groups that were looking at whether it's organic or genetically modified. And there's just research is always spun in different ways to come up with different goals, in my opinion. Very rarely is research really looking out for the greater good. It's usually to prove a point or to unprove a point, or one of the great examples of flawed research, it's on YouTube. You could search the statin public hearings on statins. So for years we thought fat's bad, gives us heart attacks, cholesterol, plaques your arteries. So if we lower cholesterol, we're going to have less heart disease. Well, the statins were the most widely prescribed drug in the world. They still might be, I'm not sure. But heart disease kept going up, did not go down, which means now people die more than ever, not even just the same, more than ever with low cholesterol. So it wasn't that. Then we thought, butter's bad for us, so we switched to trans fats, margarine. That really caused more heart disease. So here's the deal. Fat doesn't make you fat, guys. Sugar makes you fat. Okay, and here's why that is. What is sugar, first of all? People thinking right now, New Year's resolution, I'm not eating sugar, no white table sugar in my house, no candy. Well, that's great. That's maybe step one of many. What else is sugar? I'm going to classify sugar. Basically, it's anything that turns to glucose eventually in the blood, or that spikes a release of insulin in the blood. So here's what I mean by sugar. Alcohol is sugar. Refined carbohydrates, all carbohydrate really. But when I say sugar, I mean fruit, alcohol, refined grains, table sugar, candy, things like that, okay? People say fruit. I heard the gasps even over the internet. I heard you all gasp. My doctors in the FDA and the food pyramid said that fruits and vegetables are healthy, which usually means bananas and corn and grapes and raisins, and alcohol is an antioxidant, so you got to throw wine in there. And my crackers and rice cakes are fat-free, so those got to be good, although those turn to glucose faster than table sugar turns to glucose. And your fruit, fructose, has to convert to glucose in the liver, which can cause a fatty liver, almost like drinking vodka, alcohol. I have patients all the time with fatty livers from fruit. So it's not always healthy, guys. So you really have to have a personal assessment to know what works for your body and what doesn't, or you will get fat, eliminating fat from your diet eating fruit. And not only will you not lose weight, but you'll actually gain weight. Here's why. You have a hormone called insulin. Insulin is the most powerful hormone in your body, more powerful than testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, most powerful hormone in your body, because basically our brain wants sugar and wants glucose. We have the options in our body. We could basically burn fat or we could burn sugar, okay? So where do we store our sugar? In body fat, okay? That's the fat burning battery, okay? But our body likes to burn sugar quickly because if we're stressed, we crave sugar, and glucose burns faster than fat. So in a stressed environment, you gotta understand, the body will pick sugar over fat. So you might have a ton of fat, but it's not getting burned. It's burning sugar. And if you don't feed it sugar and you keep on being stressed, or over-exercising the wrong way, or eating the wrong carbohydrates and things like that, you're gonna actually break down muscle and bone to get sugar. You're not gonna burn fat at all. This is why people will lose weight in the beginning of a diet, and then they plateau, and then they gain more weight back because they broke down muscle and bone, and they didn't touch their fat at all. In fact, a lot of people gain fat dieting because insulin, the most powerful hormone. I wish I could, well, maybe I will. So, okay, here's your body. Hopefully you can appreciate my artwork. Here are fat cells. Okay, fat cells. Here is glucose. When you eat glucose, the body will burn it immediately if you need it. Okay, so goo, power bars, protein powders with a little bit of carbohydrate, anything refined really is going to turn to glucose really fast. So when glucose hits your blood, okay, so here's glucose. The arrow represents hitting your blood. I think I spelled that right. It has a choice. Do you need it? If you need it, great, yes. But most of us, unless you're running, in the act of running or exercising and drinking your sports performance drinks or alcohol. I hope you're not running and drinking alcohol or biking. But really, unless you're exercising, you probably don't need that much carbohydrate at that time. That's why high glycemic, quickly digesting carbohydrates like crackers and bread and cereal and bars and powders and fruit and all that are making us fat, because we don't need all that energy. So where is the body going to put that arrow right there? Sugar is going to go into the fat cells. What hormone is doing that? Insulin, absolutely. So the more sugar we eat, the more insulin goes into or blood sugar goes into the fat cell. And now do we have high or low blood sugar in the blood? Insulin was released, took all that carbohydrate, that sugar, put it in the fat cell. We now have low blood sugar, hypoglycemia. Some people know that because they get shaky. It'll trigger a hot flash, especially in the middle of the night. 1 or 2 in the morning, you're sleeping, all of a sudden you think, oh, I'm going through menopause, I'm having hot flashes. No, what really happens most of the time is your blood sugar drops because you haven't eaten since dinner or your late night snack, and your brain goes, holy cow, and it releases a little bit of insulin. It releases cortisol to get your blood sugar up, okay? But that cortisol wakes you up, makes you hot. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and your doctors are telling you, oh, you need estrogen, birth control pills, blah, 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 blah. And for men, same thing. We don't really flash like that, but we'll wake up hot often. But anyhow, that's a blood sugar problem, guys. That's not a menopause. That's not a aging problem. That's a blood sugar problem. So we got to get that fixed. And what does blood sugar problems cause? Insulin resistance. What is insulin resistance? It's like pre-diabetes. It messes up your testosterone. It messes up your thyroid, which is your metabolism and energy and feeling good about yourself to a large degree. It messes up about everything. And health is not, our health practitioners are not talking to us straight about this stuff. They're giving us quick fix, more diets, more exercise, eat less, exercise more. It's not working, guys. So